Hey everybody, this is Joe. Thank you for watching my Giga Texas construction update video. Yesterday, Tesla hosted the second quarter financial results meeting, and we learned a lot of information, especially about the future here at Giga Texas. Now, I'm going to summarize some of what was discussed that has to do with Giga Texas or the area around Giga Texas, and I'll put them on the slides here. So we'll go through a few of these right now. The plans for the new vehicles, including the new affordable models, remain on track for the start of production the first half of 2025, and that will be happening here at Giga Texas. Now, these vehicles will be utilizing some of the next generation platform, but also current platforms and production lines here at Giga Texas. And that's one of the things that I've mentioned recently with the shift change and some of the other changes that are going on inside to prepare for this. But this is all something that we can continue to watch for here at Giga Texas. Now, overall, this will help Tesla reach their 3 million vehicle capacity worldwide. That would be about 50% growth over 2023. But we're going to be seeing that sometime next year. And of course, the Robotaxi is continuing its preparations for manufacturing using that revolutionary unboxed process, and it will be here at Giga Texas. That was reconfirmed at the meeting. We got some great news about Cybertruck production. It's tripling recently, and they are on track to hit profitability by the end of this year. Also, they announced that Cybertruck production is now up to 1,400 trucks per week, and that is a new increase. And of course, that's about 5,600 per month, which is a pretty great number, and that's going to continue to grow through this year. Now, they also started validation testing of the first prototype Cybertrucks using the in-house dry cathode 4680s, and this is a big improvement and also a breakthrough for 4680 production, and that happened here this month, and they're going to be continuing to do so through the rest of this year to get them ready for production. They also mentioned that production of some Cybertrucks using this dry cathode will be later this year. Now, one other thing I want to point out in this image here, this talks about the coating shop. This is actually something new, and that is that up until recently, the Cybertrucks have been using the same e-coating process as the Model Ys. Now, with the new TKS modular painting system that was installed in the body in white that I've been mentioning the last, say, maybe 8 months or so, that's going to be allowing the Cybertrucks to be doing the e-coating there, which is going to help streamline operations in the Giga Texas production facilities. Moving to other parts of Giga Texas, the south extension is nearing completion per Tesla, and it's going to house the largest cluster of H100s, which are NVIDIA GPUs necessary for the training of the hardware 4 and now the AI 4 chips that will be part of the FSD and most likely supporting the Optimus Robot as well. And I mentioned before about the dry cathode, but 50% more 4680 cells were produced this quarter than in quarter one, and that will help them with cost improvements. And finally, Elon did confirm that the Tesla Robotaxi unveiling date is the 10th of October. And it'll be something that we'll look forward to. I mentioned before, the Robotaxi will be produced here at Giga Texas, and we'll start seeing that in 2025. Now, moving to the Optimus Robot, some big news, and that is a confirmation that Optimus will be produced in high volume numbers at the end of 2025 and 2026 here at Giga Texas. So we now have a confirmation that this factory is also going to be producing Optimus, which is pretty cool. Now, they said that the Optimus production for version 1 is going to be limited production next year. That's for Tesla consumption and use in factories, so maybe we'll start seeing those here at Giga Texas as well. And that will be a way for them to iron out issues, but they intend to start the end of 2025, the version 2 high production volumes for Optimus, and moving into 2026. That also coincides with the opportunity for non-Tesla customers to be able to purchase Optimus. So pretty interesting to hear about the Optimus robot and the connections to Giga Texas. Now we know that the south extension is for the supercomputer data cluster for the hardware 4 or now AI 4 training for FSD, probably for Optimus as well. They also mentioned that they have the Dojo first installation up and running, and they're going to be doubling down on Dojo, and they have a path for it being competitive with the NVIDIA GPUs. And finally, the news about the Corpus Christi lithium plant that I wanted to pass along is that they are expecting production to be in 2025. Now, as you know, with some of my coverage that I have been doing over the last year and a half, it's a little behind the original schedule that they were hoping for, but it looks like they are at least getting to the point where they can start some sort of production in 2025. Now, I do intend to try to get an updated video of the Corpus Christi plant when I head down to the next Starship launch, which hopefully is going to be sometime in August. All right, now you're up to speed with news and what may be going on at Giga Texas in the future. So let's get in the drone, let's fly around, and let's see what Giga Texas looks like today.
If you would like to support my efforts, please consider using these links, which will be in the video description. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons on my YouTube video, as this helps as well. Thank you.
My drones are ready and raring to go. Let's go flying over Giga Texas. Well, good morning here at Giga Texas, following some big thunderstorms yesterday. You'll be able to see that, the after effects on the ground. But a great view here on the east side of the multi-level parking garage, the graded area next to the roadway, which is Robotic Avenue, and of course the intersection going underneath the drone, and on the left-hand side, River Road, and how its extension continues to make some progress, although they are using part of this area for the glass company's workshop and materials. The aligned pond has got that fence around it now. We can see this landing on the bottom of the screen and some of that water from all of the rains. As we zoom in here on the east side of the extension, a great view of a lot of the work going on the inside, and it looks like there may be some slab work, fresh concrete around those tanks. Great view on the second floor, as that continues to make progress, especially with interior walls being erected on the right-hand side of the screen. The work on the ground floor of the cooling plant is definitely evident here, and it's continuing to gain a lot more equipment and some other items in addition to the large water pipes, what we will be seeing here shortly. But there are some deliveries of those water pipes in that center part of the screen, and they have, looks like 6 eyelets on the side of those water pipes. So we're going to see some branching kind of manifolds coming off of those very soon. Great overall view of the south side. Many details, which I will bring the drone down in closer and show you. Starting here on the west side of the cooling plant, we'll zoom in. A good view of the water pipes. We can see the first of the large branches of the pipe on the right-hand side of the screen. We also see the work to continue with that concrete block that they are putting around the pipes to help ensure that they don't have any problems with the water flowing inside, kind of a water hammer effect that could move the pipes with the volume of water. On the ground, we can see those deliveries more closely of the pipes with the manifolds. We're going to start seeing those installed on the ground floor underneath the cooling plant itself. As I turn back to the factory, we can get a good view of the activity on the inside, some of the materials that are just inside the glass, some of the generators on the bottom of the screen, and we get to see some big developments here on the south end. Not only do we see the formwork on the bottom of the screen for the apron going into the tunnel, but the middle tunnel shows us what this is going to look like. And all of the rebar is being prepared on the right-hand side of the screen. We can see the forms that are being installed, and it's basically extending the tunnel all the way out from the perimeter grade beam near to the silt fence at the bottom of the screen. And here's a good close-in view. Also look at the workers to get a good idea of the scale. These are very tall walls that are being put in, and they are right around where the grade of the top of the perimeter grade beam is. So that's going to be something to watch to see how this develops. A lot more of the rebar being fashioned into the segments that will go into those forms in the walls, and we should see that replicated on all three of these tunnels. Good view of the cleared and graded kind of triangular section here on the southwest side. Obviously the rains have made it kind of a mud pit right now, and hopefully once they get all this taken care of, that'll be concrete or asphalt, they won't have this problem. Here's a great view into the opening on this southwest side, which is most likely going to be that entrance, and a lot of the materials on the inside. As we wrap around the building, because of the sun's location, I'm going to have to try to bring the drone down a little bit lower and get a little closer in just to block the sun, but this gives us a great view on the inside. The materials, the galvanized steel ducting, the mezzanine where that supercomputer cluster is being installed. Also, we can see the pipework that is being installed for the cooling system. And then in the middle of the screen in the distance, we can tell that there is work being done on the boring tunnel and additional work here on interior walls. As we continue to maneuver towards the original southwest corner, we can get a good sense of the excavation work that is going on the ground. We've been seeing a lot of these pipes installed through this entire section of the factory, and that extends across the roadway. And there is a lot of work on that going on today. The Cybertruck production is definitely in full swing at the time that I'm doing the video. This is about an hour and a half after the new shift schedule begins. And as we saw in the intro, they're up to 1,400 Cybertrucks per week now, and that number is expected to continue to increase. While we are on the roof section, I wanted to show you the progress on this center section, which is over the supercomputer cluster, also the cables and the cable trays that are being installed here along the bottom of the screen. Looks like another layer of insulation is being added on top of this part of the roof. And you can get a good view of all of the cables and those trays that go along the parapet wall and actually follow those all the way to the north end of the building. As we get to the east side, this is a different view of that cooling plant, the activity on the ground, working on those water pipes, and just getting ready for those connections on the underside right now. So I'm going to fly back to the south over the roof section and also over the cyber pond. I want to get to the south bridge just to take a look at much of the work that is going on here and part of the reconfiguration of the underground steel corrugated pipes for the water management system. What I think they're working on are the drains that not only drain the rainwater from around the west side of the factory, but also help serve the drain for the cyber pond. Here's a great view of the work that is underway. You can see that steel corrugated pipe sticking out of that trench and additional work underneath the bridge. So let's get ready to cross over the highway and we'll resume on the west side. I use this zoom in to give you a look at this triangular clearing with the materials, the staging of some of the steel, and the work that's being done with some of those electrical conduits that have been previously installed. Also a great view of downtown Austin over the houses and the west material staging yard. And this is where those TKS modular paint systems for the e-coating that I mentioned in the intro, and that's a significant milestone that those are now online, as that helps a lot with the Cybertruck production, the efficiency, and also trying to include or reduce the costs of the manufacturing. I'm going to bring the drone down here. I wanted to show you the number of these concrete road surface liners, and the kind of wood blocks on the left is where they used to be stacked, and these have all been moved into the tunnel, and you can get a good view of the number of these wood planks that they were stacked. So a lot of that road surface has already been installed, and we're going to see some of that in action here today. Now, this is a great milestone because not only does it signify that the utilities on the bottom 1/8 of the tunnel have been installed now, but also this means that they're getting close to being able to use this as a conduit for the Cybertrucks to drive from the south extension underneath the highway over to this exit point and then over to the outbound lot. You can see these kind of rectangular concrete liners next to the worker. Gives a good sense of the scale as well. They have the beveled edges because that's where they will kind of rest on the inner diameter of the tunnel. And the way that these are moved are with this blue front-end loader, and it's just exiting the tunnel now. We can watch it as it prepares to pick up more of these and move them in. Now, this process is extremely rapid because they basically pick these up, drive them in, place them, and drive right back out and pick up another one. So there's not a lot of work that is involved as far as fitting these into the tunnel, other than just placing them on the inner diameter. So I expect this work to really progress quickly. Once this is complete, we'll start seeing the ends of the tunnels prepared for that final structure, and then it'll be in operation. So they said it sometime in July. We're still in July, so we'll see how that goes. As we fly over to the outbound lot, I just wanted to show you what the activity level looks like today. Many Cybertrucks, a lot of the Model Ys as well, trucks that are here to pick them up, to move them off-site and up to the Taylor rail yard. And a good view here of some of the preparation work, those tents, and how the test track next to the end-of-line facility looks today. The South Superchargers are, I'd say, about half busy, and from what I understand is they tend to put the charge to about 30% on the new vehicles before they are shipped out to their destinations. As I cross over the end-of-line facility, I wanted to give you a good view of this test track. Happens to be a Cybertruck doing testing right now, so I'm going to follow along with that Cybertruck to the north and give you a good view of the kind of testing that they do. They have rumble strips, they do the left and right rapid turns, and then coming up on the north end, they have this figure 8 where they do some of the testing of the steering. And then they proceed back to the south. The north end is reasonably busy with the vehicles getting ready to enter and do the final end-of-line processing. As a reminder, all the end-of-line operations are now taking place in this facility. And when we see the vehicles exiting on the west side of the factory, they're basically just coming over here to finish up the operations rather than doing that inside the factory as used to be the case. And I did cover this in depth on a previous video, so if you would like to get more information, I would recommend that you take a look on my YouTube channel and check that video out. As we crossed over the highway, I'm going to bring the drone back down past the main entrance. But I did notice that there's a interesting Cybertruck display going on here. Looks like a black wrapped Cybertruck, and although you won't be able to see it on this view, I was able to get a still image. The tailgate has a very large graffiti Cybertruck written on it. So next to the Cybertruck graffitied trailer, that's pretty cool. And the other thing I wanted to show while we are here is the number of Model Ys that are stacking up. And just to reiterate, this is now the exit point. The end of line work is at that west end of the line facility. So all of these vehicles are just basically exiting now, waiting for the drivers to get back and take them over to the end of line facility. And just by looking at the orientation of the vehicles here, this is indication that operations have definitely changed. as it is definitely different than what we have seen in the past. Now, as we continue to fly to the north along the west side, past some of the trailers being brought in by the yard trucks from the warehouse on wheels, I wanted to stop here and take a look at this kind of section with the dirt and the temporary fence, and I don't see a lot of work being done other than the water from those rains that I had mentioned. This is part of the battery cell recycling operation. In that blue container, we see many of the canisters from the 4680s being recycled. And these are, again, just canisters. They are not the batteries themselves. Work on the berm for the fiber optic continues, although it looks like most of the work has now been finished and they've filled in all of the trenching. And that runs the entire length of the berm from the north to the south, and it even extends up to Tesla Road. So I've turned the drone around to take advantage of the sun's angle, and I wanted to show you the north part of the 4680s. The big change is that the white stain's been applied to those semi-permanent walls underneath the larger platform. And I'm also going to take this opportunity to pull away to give you a good view from the north, and we'll reposition over by the Megapack site and get some updates there. I really love the lighting this morning of the entire site. Great view of the Megapacks and how they are working today. And the south end of the electrical switchyard with those trailers and preparation work, not only for the conduit that's being installed, and I'll give you a closer view here shortly, but also eventually we're going to see a third transformer installed there to help boost the amount of electricity that Giga Texas will be able to use. I'll zoom in so you can see the mud base with the risers of the conduits, also the concrete vaults, and you can see where those conduits come in to the vault walls. And nearby here, near the electrical switchyard, I saw crews actively installing the wires through the conduit. So we should start seeing that in this part of the site very soon. This is where that conduit meets these two new concrete vaults and then takes an almost 90-degree turn and then goes underneath Tesla Road. You can tell with the new asphalt that the direction of all the conduit, and you can see that all of it has now been completed and filled over, which is a great milestone for that as well. Good view of the north end of the paint shop and these new receiving doors of the north part of the casting machine structure. As I maneuver around here on the northeast side, we can see the activity with castings, some of the rack mounts that are being used for storage, and we can see a refill of carbon dioxide, which is one of the gases that are used for operations inside. We can also tell that saw cutting is again underway here on the concrete apron for some additional rework. This entire section has had the screw-type piers, the conduit, and some of the mud base installed. On the right-hand side of the screen is that new receiving door that was cut in, and we see formwork for a retaining wall on this south end. Also, next to this steel galvanized structure, the concrete looks like it's been poured in that rectangular section on the left with the three workers. More equipment and fan units have been installed on the underside of the galvanized steel structure. And this entire filtration unit with ventilation ducting is well underway today. There's about 4 workers, and that will give you a great view and scale of this installation. Now, as I bring the drone up, I'll give you a bird's eye view, and we'll pirouette around just to give a good vantage point of all the operations that are currently underway and how this large and very tall stack of vents and ducting appears. Next to that, you see those 2 kind of hexagonal pads. Those are going to be for some tanks that I expect to see move from the west side over here very soon. So bring the drone back down, a great view from this vantage point of the entire baghouse filtration plant superstructure and the equipment, plus that clearing the new large receiving door and how that appears on this east side of the casting machine structure. As I pan the drone along the east side, it's a good view of the continued work here in the dirt section for some of the piping, and one of these days we will see concrete, but it's just taking a very long time. The former East testing and calibration lot, now the Model Ys that you see are all employee vehicles getting charged, and you can see a few of the Cybertrucks waiting for further processing. Great overall view here of the east side with the multi-level parking garage, Robotic Avenue, the new intersection, and looking back to the factory, a great view from the east looking west of the entire length. And of course, the warehouse on wheels on this side looks to be reasonably busy with a lot of trailers waiting for the yard trucks to pick them up and move them over to the places in the factory that is needed for production. Wanted to give you a close view of some of these workshops and the materials that are being staged on this side of the site and the last remaining tree belt in this area. Plus, we see that diesel refueling station on the bottom right. I also wanted to give you a good look at some of the materials that are being stockpiled here in the area where Tesla Road will be expanded through, and not really any change here in some weeks. As we get to the east side of the casting machine, the cathode structure, we can see that the crash test facility looks like it's busy today, not on the south end, but on the north end, particularly with many of these vehicles, not just Cybertrucks, but almost the entire model line of Tesla that have gone through testing. And here's a great view of the north end of the crash testing facility, also the east wall of the cathode plant. And next to the Wade pit is 6 vehicles that have had crash testing. I will zoom in so you get a good view of these. It looks like there's a Model X, a new Model 3, possibly a Model Y, and 3 Cybertrucks. And it looks like some extensive crash testing has taken place with these vehicles. Now pull away from this location and give you a good view here of the east side, and I'll zoom back out and we'll continue to fly here on the northeast side of the cathode plant. I wanted to stop here and get closer in just to take a look at the roof repair work that has recently happened. You can see those linear clean spots. Those are along many of the seams in that weatherproof membrane, but no changes over the last week. The west side is nicely dry despite the huge thunderstorms that we had. So that indicates yet again that they've got a good handle on the drainage now. The chiller plant looks like it has the augmentation of the chillers and the generators, and everything is hooked up, and it looks like it may be operational or certainly functional. And why do they have to do these augmentations? I'm not sure, but on the left-hand side of the screen, the pipes have those temporary caps installed, so I'm assuming that they need to do more work to expand that facility in the near future. So this is a stopgap until that happens. I did notice that there was a lot of activity next to this nitrogen tank and vaporizers today, and it looks like maybe a new set of tanks, kind of the horizontal hot dog type tanks, have been delivered today, so that may be what they are installing. A great view of this north expansion lot. I think we're going to see the warehouse on wheels expand next to where the fence is located now that we have additional parking here, plus a good view of how busy the site is and the east parking lot on this Wednesday morning. As I mentioned, there is a new shift schedule for production and general assembly, and that took in effect last week, and now it is fully in effect today. So a good view from the electrical switchyard looking back to most of Giga Texas. I hope you enjoyed what we were able to see and talk about in the intro. Have a great day.